started. Send out your last reminders. You don't want your people to miss it. Let's get it going. Got your sticky notes, got your pens. Put your phone, put your laptop on do not disturb. You need to focus because we are going to be manifesting. We're going to be diving into the formless substance and pulling out what we want. That requires some concentration. It also requires clarity. Yeah, there's some bubbles. So if you're ready to focus, you're ready to pay attention, ready to manifest, put in the chat, I'm ready. Put I'm ready in the chat. Put I'm ready in the chat. If you are ready, let's get it going. All right, now our guest of honor, which by the way, Mr. Michael White is also a guest of honor. He's an incredible leader on his way to the top. Mr. Daine Clark has won several contests inside of Renatus, and he is one of the top dudes, and we're so grateful for him. Let me pull up my little PowerPoint slides here because I want to show you who this beautiful man is. There we go. This one right here. Now here's his cute little family.
Daddy.
That's our buddy Daine. So there's Daine and his lovely wife. And they're 3 amazing kids. They're on a trip right now. I believe yeah, it's incredible.
Oh.
Whoa. Now they're on I believe it's like a 90-day road trip across the country. They're coming to visit us in Tennessee also. But it wasn't always peachy keen for him. In fact, this guy was incredibly shy, scared, shaking in his boots. He grew up on a dairy farm, right? And so he had to get up early, had to work in that. But then in order to make some money, he also got into roofing.
Daddy, bunny.
Yeah, you see the bunny?
Bunny.
Okay. So I don't know about you, but roofing's not easy. And it's definitely not a good paying situation. And I've heard him say it before, you know, redheads shouldn't be on roofs. But when he first got his start in Renatus, his wife was 3 months pregnant. They were super scared about what their life was going to be because he was working all these little jobs, getting $9-10 an hour, $11 an hour, barely making ends meet. And because of that shyness, he really didn't set big goals for himself, unfortunately. But luckily, someone reached out to him, a warm market person, someone already a member of Renatus, called Daine and said, hey, why don't you come take a look at this community, this company that I found? Now, when Daine decided to get involved, he made a goal of 1 deal a month, or sorry, 1 deal a year. He's like, if I could just do 1 deal a year, my life would be set, be fantastic. So he set out on that goal. And it took him a minute. It took him a minute. And he was still, you know, working these jobs. Unfortunately, he would be getting laid off because people just, I mean, that's the nature of a job, right? The employee is the most expensive part of it. So he took it absolutely seriously. He became a serious student. That's what I mean, a serious student. He showed up to all the trainings. He showed up to all the classes. And not just showing up, but he brought his material, his Post-it notes, so to speak, for today. His pens, he showed up. He put his phone on Do Not Disturb, and he took it seriously. Now, what's interesting, a few stats I want to go over about him is he now makes, on average, more money in 2 weeks than he used to make all year. Consistently, just bang, bang, bang. He's helped hundreds of people get involved in Renatus and real estate. And he has been consistently in the top 5. In fact, he just got to go on a trip around the world with Mr. Snyder, went to Dubai, got to drive Ferraris, got to do all sorts of fun stuff. The contest before that, we went to London and Scotland and drove all over the United Kingdom. This guy has got a huge heart. He cares about people. He's not just in it for the money. And that's why I've asked him to be here and share with us, because he's a manifester. He reaches into that formless substance and pulls out his dreams, his reality, and helps others to do that. He's now completed over 182 deals, and 68 of them were last year. While these people are like, oh, it's hard, we're losing our jobs, the guy was doing more than one deal a week. It's like every 5 days, a deal, a deal, a deal. Every 5 days, he was doing a deal. That's someone to learn from, for sure. And he's a trained speaker. Remember, he used to be shy. He used to be like, do I have to talk to somebody? Well, yeah, you can't do real estate with your lips closed. So so now he's presented over 500 times. He's been in front of audiences as little as 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and on stage in front of 1,000 people. He is a commander. He knows how to take something complex and confusing and break it down into usable action steps. We're so grateful to have him here. And when he first got into the game, he only literally had what was in his savings account, just a few $1,000. But now, through the educational process and the massive action he's taken, he now has over $11 million at his disposal to buy deals whenever. And he's using that 11 million to bring in, his business brings in just his real estate business, not even his marketing money, but just his real estate business brings in 160,000 a month. You got to pay attention. He is an example of how to use the Renata system. He didn't just sit back and say, oh, I'm only going to be a real estate investor. He didn't sit back and say, oh, I'm just going to be a marketer. He's using the entire system. He's bulletproof. He's paid off his house. He's paid off his luxury RVs. The guy is now roaming the country in his off-grid RV, pulling that bad A Jeep behind him, exploring the world with his family. And now, folks, he is a master of his schedule. He only works 2 days a week. I'm taking notes from him. He only works 2 days a week, and those 2 days is usually from noon to 6, because he wants to have breakfast and lunch with his family and dinner with his family. Unless he's got to close a deal, those are his work days. He has designed his life to a T. It wasn't by accident. There's a methodology to this, and he's helped a lot of people. I want to give you my personal experience. Where did I put it? There it is. So this exercise that Daine did with us, or that it's going to do with us right now, he did with us 3 years ago. Okay, this is my wallet I've been carrying around, and here are my little sticky notes. Here's my little sticky notes from 3 years ago. So I'm coachable. I'm a student. I listen to what he has to say. So I got my little sticky notes. Something's in here about owning 200 acres in Tennessee. Something else is in here about surpassing the $3 million status, which I've done. And then one here is by deepening a relationship with Vanessa. So these things is working. It is flat out working. So we are honored by his presence. We are so grateful for the contributions he's made into the community. He's a giver, he's a lover, and I want to give a big warm welcome to Mr. Daine Clark.
What's up, Renatus Nation from Disney World? In our RV, of course, in Disney World. But my goodness, that if you guys have never been to Disney World, I'm from Utah, so this is like 2,700-mile trip to drive here. Dude, Disney World takes the cake. Oh my goodness. We're actually in one of the Disney parks here, and it is like, this is the coolest campsite we have. We're going to stay here 2 weeks. We're only going to Disney World for 1 week. We're going to be in the RV park for 2 weeks just because there's so much to do here. But super exciting. Thank you, Michael. And whoever's running the host stuff, if you can make me a host so I can share my screen, I'll do that in just a moment. I also have my iPad in here just in case it doesn't let me share the iPad screen from the computer, but so look for Daine Clark iPad. But yeah, I am super excited to be here. I learned about this stuff, I think 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm one of those people that I learned really fast in Renatus, that if you learn something that works, the only way to learn it better and the only way to really manifest it is to teach it. if you become a teacher of what you learn, you actually learn better. And so I've been hogging up all the learning, if you will, because I'm sharing and sharing and sharing everything I learn. And if you were on my vision board training last year, at this time in the beginning of January, stay tuned, because I have got some awesome updates that have blown my mind from last year. And I'm very, very excited to share what I've learned. Anyway, and just because today is a training day, is everybody okay if I take this off? If I was trying to sell everybody on something or whatever, I would keep this on. But is everybody okay if I take this off? Because today we're going to roll up our sleeves and we are going to train, right? I want you guys to be present every moment of this, because you're going to notice that when you take or what you take from today might actually be only a few things. I've actually never met a single person, myself included, that does every single thing that I'm about to share with you guys to a T, right? That human does not exist, because humans are, well, we're not perfect, right? We typically, when you hear something, when you learn something, you'll do a small percentage of it. So my goal today is to deliver this as, in a quick fashion, but also very simple. So that you take that one thing that if you do, like Michael, his was the sticky note thing. And there's, I'm sure there's, he's actually followed up with me and he's told me a couple of extra things that he's done along with the sticky notes, and it worked, right? You'll notice that even if, right, the principles I share today, the principles work. The more you can combine, the better it happens, the faster it happens, all that good stuff, okay? But all right, sleeves are rolled up. Let's do this. I want to start today with a story, right? And I'll get to why I chose this story as I go through it. But the first disclaimer that I want to share on this story is that it actually comes from a Christian theology. Okay, and so that disclaimer is there because I know every single person doesn't believe the same way. We are here on earth, and welcome to America. You can believe whatever the heck you want, right? And so this story might be, something like a Disney story to you, where we really know that the frozen princess didn't actually, shoot icicles out of her hands and whatever, but it's a cool story and we can all benefit from whatever, okay? So if that's all you get out of this story, that's all right. Okay? But in Christian theology, or what I do want to say is the principles that we'll take from this story will benefit everyone. It does not matter what you believe. Fair enough? All right. So, long time ago, before this world even existed, there's Christian theology out there that says that every single one of us is a spirit child of God. And we all lived and we were raised by God before we came to earth, right? Every single one of us, we are all God's spirit children, right? And I'll get to I'm going to pull one word out of this story, but I want to give it some meaning with this, okay? As God's children, we weren't like him, okay? And there was one thing that God said, and he said, you know what, guys, all my kids, I got a plan. I got an idea. I want all of you guys to be able to be like me because you're my kids, right? Think about the family today. Husband, wife, children, fathers want their children, mothers want their children to have a better life. Parents want their children to learn and grow and become. God was the same. He said, I want you guys to be like me. And he said, I've got a plan. And here's what we're going to do. You're all going to forget all this experience. You're going to forget your upbringing. You're going to forget everything. You're going to go down to earth and you're going to experience life without knowing, without remembering anything that you learned as a spirit child of God. And every single person, and here's the word, every single person will be given agency. In the religious term, most people will say agency is freedom of choice. You have the ability to choose, to believe what you want, to do what you want, to think what you want, whatever, to say what you want. You have agency. Webster defines agency as the capacity, condition, or the state of acting or exerting power. I've done some research into agency this year and literally keep on coming back to certain things. And we're gonna, I'm gonna finish up the story because I want to share this with you. But in this story, God says, I want to give all of you agency. So you're gonna go down, you're gonna choose, you won't remember any of this stuff. You're gonna be able to choose whatever it is you want. But wait, my Christian friends know what I'm about to say, but wait, not every single person would go down and make the choices and do the things and be able to return to God and all that. No human would be perfect. We know that's all true. No human would be perfect. And the one that everybody knows as, whose name is Jesus, he said, wait a second. Here am I, send me, yada, yada, yada. I'll do the thing that Jesus did. And so everybody will be able to. And there was a contender in heaven that said, hold on. Okay, again, all this argument is about agency. Hold on, I have an idea. God, your idea sucks. How about we send everybody down? I will make sure that every single person does exactly what they need to, when they need to do it, to think the way they should, to do the things they should, to say, all like they will not be given agency, but every single person will do exactly what they should. In other words, taking away agency. And there was a great war that broke out where people were saying, no, yeah, we should do that. I want to make sure I make it. Other people are like, no, I want to choose. I want to have that power in and of myself. And of course, we know who won. And there was born what we know as the devil or Satan, the great contender for heaven. Okay. Now, I know for some, this is just a story. I know for some, this is what you believe. This is something I do believe, but notice what the Great War was all about. Agency. That is the greatest gift that you and me have ever and will ever be given. Now, I want to talk about agency for just a second, because yeah, agency is choice, and like Webster, exerting the capacity of being able to exert power. But at the same time, let's look at this. If that was the number one thing. The AC just kicked on. Everybody still hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can still hear audio. Audio still good? Perfect. Okay. The number one thing that we could be given, the gift that we could be given, is agency. I remember thinking to myself, I need to look into this a little bit more. So let's learn more about this agency thing. It's power, right? We all have been given power, choice to do. So everybody do something with me really fast. I want to give you a minute lesson on what I'm talking about. And then this is when I open your mind to what agency is capable of, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of this before? Okay, everybody hold your hand up for me, please. Do it on screen if you can. Okay, hold your hand up. Right? Now in science, we've all come to understand that what makes up us, our hand, right? Everything in this world comes back to the periodic table. I don't know how many elements there are, but you cannot destroy, you cannot create elements. So everything in our hands and our bodies are literally just elements, right? We are made up of the periodic table. That's it. So question for you, what power commands all of the elements in your hand? Because literally you can find these elements all over the earth, scattered and this way, that way, doesn't matter. What power commands these elements to do this? What, and to take that even deeper, what power commands the elements that make up your hand? Now everybody hold your hand up again. And move your fingers. What power commands these elements to not only take this form, but also to make this movement? You have been given power over elements to do. Now, of course, this is something simple. We're going to take, and like Michael said, we're going to take this a step deeper. We're going to go way deeper into manifesting, because everybody takes for granted, of course, like, oh yeah, I've been doing this my whole life. Even when I was a little baby, I could do this. Of course you can. How do we take that to manifesting everything that you want in your life? In being able to have all the time to do whatever you want, all the money to do whatever you want? I can tell you this. It comes back to agency, right? And most people will actually never in this life understand what I'm about to share with you today. They will live their entire lives taking for granted that they can do this, and as well as with this, that they literally have the power to command the elements. And the very existence of their lives. And it was given to every single person. Now, again, like I said, the story came from Christian theology, but the principles that we can take from this, I don't care where you read it. If you read it from Napoleon Hill, he's talking about this. If you read it from Jim Rohn, he's talking about this. If you read it from the Bible, they're talking about this, right? The principles are the same. No matter where you go, everybody relabels it however they want. Okay? So, now, and the one reason that most people will not get what they want is because they didn't understand agency. They didn't understand how to use it properly. Okay. All right. So let's see if I can share my screen on the iPad. Let's see. Share screen. Make sure you have your sticky notes handy for when we need those. We don't need them at this moment, but we will shortly. All right, share iPad screen. Let's see if it lets me do it just straight from the iPad. No, it's not gonna let us. So here, let me share. I already joined the Zoom on my iPad, so let's see, Zoom, share screen, start. All right, here we go. And bam. Should be on. Perfect. All right, we're live. Okie doke. All right, let's talk about this. Right. By the way, if you guys have not taken a class on how to build mind maps, do that. Whoops, let's close that. Do that. This is how the mind actually works. It doesn't work in bullets and lists, and the mind works like a web. But anyway, all right. Let's talk about vision boards. Now, couple of things that that vision boards are I've seen it all over the place. I've seen vision board trainings. I've seen people print out a big poster sheet or print. I've seen people put it on their phones. I've seen people. Right, I'm going to give you some rules and the things that I share with you today, because again, vision boards are trained far and wide. The things I share with you today, sure, they're my own take on them. Some of them are scientific, some of them are psychological, some of them, but what I can tell you is that each of these things actually has a deeper meaning. We won't go into each of these things, but again, like I talked about with Michael or in the beginning, if you even take one or two of these things and start using them, it actually can be proven that it works better and it works faster. If you try to do as many of them as you can, obviously you'll get more. Okay, but all right, let's talk about this. So first thing, when we're going to talk about vision boards, is I want to go through just how to make one. And yeah, we're going to spend a few minutes on this because I don't believe that put it on your cell phone or let's see, where's my phone? It's over there somewhere. All right, put it on your cell phone so that every time you open your lock screen, you see it. Again, better than nothing, but scientifically not as good. Sorry. All right, let's talk about some rules really fast. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in. If you guys want to take screenshots of this, this is my PowerPoint. Okay, so take some screenshots of this stuff. This is how my brain works. Right now, let's talk about this now with some of these rules. Does anybody know, right? And you can answer rhetorically, but does anybody know what the purpose of brakes on a car are really for? Why did they invent brakes to stop a car? Most people would say, oh, so you can stop the car. And they would actually be wrong. Brakes were invented because they wanted to take cars and make them go faster. If you have brakes, then you can go faster. This is why the Ferraris and the Maseratis, and this is why they brag about how nice of brakes they have on these cars, because if you have a car that can go 200 miles an hour, what's the most important thing to you at 200 miles an hour? Being able to stop if you're moving along that quickly, right? And so brakes were invented so that the car could go faster. And so that when I share some of these rules with you, that's the only purpose of this is so that you and your life and your goals and your visions and the things that you want can help you get there faster. Okay. All right. First of all, and we'll go into structure in just a minute, but if you're going to create a vision board, I suggest don't make a digital one. Make something physical. Make something that you can touch, right? Because we'll get into the five senses. If we have time, we'll get into the five senses today, but make something that you can physically touch, because you're going to be able to use more of those five senses at the end of the day, right? You can touch it, you can see it, you can feel it, right? You can smell it even. Or, put scratch and stiff stickers. No, just kidding. There's actually we could go into some science on that, but I suggest make a physical one, right? And make something that's like 2 feet by 2 feet, right? And I'll give you guys my exact, I don't know if I call it an algorithm or my template, if you will, to building a vision board. But make something that is about that big, right? 2 feet by 2 feet, where when you're standing in front of it, it's big enough that you can see each thing on it, but it's also small enough that you don't have to go. And we'll go into some more stuff, right? Now, I suggest that if you're going to build a vision board, put it somewhere that is at your eye level as well. Put it somewhere that you can see it. And number 3 on here, put it in a high traffic area. Put it somewhere that you're going to see it every single day. Every single day. Myself, I put it at the head of my bed. I have to pass that place at least twice every single day. Coming and going, from bed, getting clothes on, pass over there for the, to get to the closet, whatever. Right? I see that multiple times, which actually can promote me to say, oh, vision board, right? And the reason it's eye level and the reason it's in that high traffic area is because, sometimes, and we'll get into this, but sometimes you're going to want to just sit there and stand and look at it, right? Which we'll get into in a moment, but you want to be able to have this at a place that you can stand up and look at it for maybe even an extended period of time, right? Anyway, so eye level, high traffic area. It needs all the writing on your vision board. I'm going to suggest that it's all in your handwriting. Don't type it up and print it off. Make it in your handwriting. Again, back to science. There are neurological things that have to go off for your brain, inside of your brain, through your hand in order to write something down. So put it in your handwriting when you're writing out your goals and what you want. Hence the sticky note. I love the sticky note because it's very easy. I'm not sure why this got moved, but here, let me do this real fast. I might have accidentally moved that. Let's put that right there. All right. I want it to be very easy to put something on your vision board And again, back to the science, I want you to be able to take it off of your vision board. Why? Because you're like, cool, got that. If you have a vision board that's all like glued and and you go to the magazines and you're cutting stuff out and gluing it, taping it, whatever, it's going to be harder to take it off. You're actually telling your brain that that's going to be on there for a long time. Makes sense, right? No, you want a vision board that can be adjusted and moved and put stuff new and take stuff old that you've already got, right? You want to tell your brain like, I'm going to take this off almost as fast as I can put it on, right? Okay. And we're going to talk about proper order right now. Okay. In a vision board, I feel that there are areas in your life that you really need to try and create a balance and set goals in. Okay, so here's your next screenshot, and we're going to go through each of these things, and we'll give you guys examples. We're actually going to walk through it, and if I can get a volunteer, even I'll give you, we'll do a walkthrough for somebody, and we'll go through their goal. Okay, now here's your next screenshot. In your 2 foot by 2 foot, whatever it is going to be, vision board, there's 9 categories that you should have, because how you do one thing is how you do all things. And you'll notice that what are they, what's that I butcher this quote every time. I should really learn this one, but a rising tide raises all ships in the harbor, something like that. How you do one thing is how you do all things. And so if you are creating goals in all these different areas of your life, guess what? Everything gets better. Okay, and I'll give you some more examples as we go. Okay, but here we go. Let's start from top left, and we're going to go across. The first goal, and this is the goal that most people think of very quickly, is money. So yes, have a money goal, but it should only be one of the things, right? And we'll get into the relationship of these later on. But we're going to start there. Top left is going to be money. Also has to do with, right brain, left brain, something, anyway, this is laid out on purpose by design, like this. Okay. Money, top on the left. Money goal should be things like, we'll get into this in a minute. Quantifiable. We'll do that later. Okay. Anyway, money. Things like, I want to make this much money. I want to have this much money. I want to have this much money coming in every single month. Whatever it is, this is your zero guilt-free money. I want money. And this is how much I want of it. This is how often I want it. Okay. Your money goal. If it's a one-time thing, or if it's whatever it is, right? The second one is your image, right? Top on the middle, your image. How do you look? How do you view yourself? Physically, mentally, up to you. But you should have a goal for how you show up in the world. I've had things on my vision board as an example of this, of things like being a great presenter, right? And I'll get into the quantifiable of that in a moment. But I've had things on my vision board of saying I want to do 500 presentations. Again, thinking of the image of what I want and how I want to show up, right? Image could also be, well, wow, some of these are going to cross over, where image of thinking like, oh, this is how I want my body to look up. That one's going to be more in the fitness and health. Okay, but image, your image, how do you want to look? How do you want to show up in the world? Mentally, spiritually, you name it. Okay, how do people view you? Okay, top on the right, spiritual. Whether that's again, the Christian theology, it doesn't matter. Any kind of spirituality. For I have had stories of people that are like, oh, I'm an atheist, but at the same time, in the same way that a Christian believes in Christ, an atheist believes in self. Atheist believes in that there is some kind of something bigger than themselves. And if they don't have one of those, pick one. if you don't have that spiritual aspect of your life, pick something. I don't care. And that whatever that thing is, it just needs to be bigger than you. Find something that is larger than yourself, and there's your spirituality. Okay. Even if that's like, I don't know, a tree. Okay. Tree, pick one that's bigger than you, of course. But if you have that spirituality where you have some kind of connection with a tree, again, a whole bunch of science behind this. Doesn't matter. Again, principles are the same. Doesn't matter where you get them. All truth is truth. Okay, so pick something spiritual in yourself, whatever it is, meditating, Christian theology, Muslim, doesn't matter. Something bigger than yourself. Okay, and you're going to set goals in that area, which we'll get to in just a moment. Love the tree energy. There's actually, I didn't pick trees randomly. Actually, there's actually a whole bunch of science behind trees and what they can do, and the spirituality of. Anyway, I guess you could say that I've become a tree hugger because of some of the things I've learned. But moving down again from left to right, moving down, we're going to family. I want you to set goals in family. If you don't have family, then set goals around people who are family, who would be family. What was the word I was looking for? Sorry, I'm trying to watch your guys' comments too. Family figures. If you don't have any family, now, well, actually, let me say this. If you have written your family off, I would set goals around something to make that better, right? If you have terrible, if ties have been severed with family, I would actually, even if it's something teeny tiny, set a goal to make that better, because again, all ships rise when the tide comes up. When the tide rises, all ships in the harbor come up. Okay. Now, if you don't have any family, then yeah, pick a person or a group of people that you would call your family. Don't just replace the family because you're like, oh, I hate them. Make a goal with family first, and then backup is people that you would consider family. Okay. Now, family don't end in blood. Exactly. Right. And Mike, that's actually what I was referring to with family, because I honestly have, with some people inside of Renatus, I actually have better, deeper relationships with those people than with some of my own family. And so that's why I want to make sure that don't just default to the family, people that you really love and care about. Default to the people that are biologically, again, there's designed by this, biologically related to you. Okay. Even if you're adopted, biologically related to you. Yeah. Set goals on that. Make it better. And you get to decide what better means. Better could be understanding. Better could be actually talking to them. But it doesn't have to be. Actually talking to them does not have to be quote unquote better. Okay, which we could get into that. If anybody has specific questions on that, we can get into that eventually. But family. All right, fitness, health, pretty straightforward. How you want to look physically, how, your weight, your physique, your what you do in a template week for your health, right? How you eat, okay? All those things, health, fitness, set goals in that area. Again, even if it's small. The next one's love, right? Our right column, middle of the road, middle of the way down. Love. Set goals for your love life, however that is. If you're married, if you're not married, doesn't matter. Set goals for some kind of love. If you are married, then yeah, that one's an easy one. I'm going to set goals for my wife. If you're not married, it could be love in general, love of all mankind, love. Just set goals for your level of love. Okay. If that's pointed towards people, if it's right now, again, back to agency, which, you know, I'm going to mention this now, and we may go into this deeper. But notice that sometimes goals require the agency of other humans in order for you to get, which, you know, we'll talk about that when we talk about the importance of goals or the rules around goals. But with agency, try to refrain from goals that you have to have other people use their agency, right? How do I say this? Refrain from setting goals where somebody has to make a certain decision and use their agency in order for you to get your goal, right? There's a fine line in there where, you know, again, like the war in heaven, this is why I love this story, but like the war in heaven, one person said, yeah, we want everybody to choose, and I'm going to sell them on my idea. And the other side of the story, the contender, was more like, no, I'm going to make everybody choose my way, highway, and yeah, we'll all do what we wanted to do in the end at the end, but I forced them to do it, right? Be careful with that kind of stuff. Make sure when you set a goal, yeah, imposing on others. When you set a goal and it has to do with other people's agency, that you still respect their agency, because they were given the same gift that you were at the end of the day. So you don't want to be like that contender. You want to be like the Father. Okay. Anyway, bottom left, education, career, job raises if you're chasing that kind of career, to learn something new, to get through so many classes in your Renatus. Again, something to do with your work, your craft, what it is that you're building, your empire, your Renatus team, your real estate portfolio, right? Whatever it is that you are doing to learn and to make your mark on the world, to earn your grocery money every single month, set a goal in that education and career category. Now this one is the more selfish one for you, and this one has to be guilt-free. If you're married, make sure that yours is yours in this category of goals, and your spouse's is your spouse's, and you are not allowed, right? Listen closely. You are not allowed to sway what the spouse's is. Example, I've had couples make goals where one couple is like, oh, I want to go to Europe, and the other spouse is like, I don't want to go to Europe. And so the one spouse set a goal to go to Europe, and she went to Europe by herself on her own dime. I think she went with some of her girlfriends, whatever, right? And left the husband behind. That's okay. Again, agency. If they want it, support them. If you want it, ask for their support. Guilt-free. This is your hobby, your passion. This is what you want. This is an item. This is an experience, whatever it is. You're guilt-free. This is what you want. And then this last one, fulfillment. This could also be like travel. This could be philanthropy. This could be, trips. This could be whatever. Something that fulfills you as an individual. Donating to your favorite nonprofit, creating your nonprofit, going on this dream trip, whatever that is. Some kind of something that makes you feel fulfilled when you do it, right? That I remember playing the Sims game. It was like I can't remember what something on the computer where you have like these green bars that you got to fill, your happiness bar, your food bar, right? You got to fill your green bar in feeling fulfilled. And so set goals around those things. All right, very quickly, does anybody have a question? I'm going to check comments. Does anybody have a question on these categories? And if somebody did ask a question while I was going, forgive me, I was trying to watch them as I could. Thank you guys for the comments, but I was trying to watch and see if there was any questions. I don't see any question marks. Oh, here we go. Nina says, written or pictures. We'll get into that, actually. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Keely. We'll get into that, right? I'm just talking categories now. So yes, we'll go over that. Any other, did I miss any questions? If you had a question, oh, here we go. How do we state the money again? We're going to get into that right now. How often do you change your board? It depends. Again, back to this rule right here. Number 6, easy on, easy off. I literally, you need to have your vision board like where if you have an idea in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day or whatever, that you can write something down on a sticky note, right? And on my very vision board. Oh shoot, do I have a picture of it? I forgot to. I shouldn't say I forgot. I didn't bring it on this big trip. Dry erase board, that could work. Definitely could work. Needs to be so easy, but on my personal vision board, I have. I went to Amazon. In fact, here, if you guys need something, I do like the dry erase idea, but I also went to Amazon and I just typed in photo. I think it was collage. How do you spell collage? C-O. Photo collage frame. And I did this one right here. In fact, I bet you this is the last purchased November last year, actually. I bought one of these for somebody else and sent them a gift. But here it is, picture collage, and it's got the little pins, or what do you call those, clothespins, and it's got the wires across. And we'll get into the actual. And I've just set it up where I don't have all of these. Let me open the picture. I don't have all of these. I have 9. I have 9 clips, 3 on the top, 3 on the middle, 3 on the bottom. I don't even use the two wires or the 2 strings that are like number 2 and number 3, or number 2 and number 4. Don't even use those, right? I use 9. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's what I like to use myself. And I actually have a pad of sticky notes and a pen that's hanging from the bottom left, or sometimes I'll just sit it on the dresser that's right below. Because again, I want to be able to, if I have an idea where this has to go on, I want this has to go on my vision board. I'm going to go through all the steps that we're going to go through in a moment and put it on my vision board, and bam, it's on my vision board very, very quickly. And then on the flip side, I'm telling my subconscious mind, it's not going to be there very long. In fact, there have been some things that happen so quickly. Again, when you do this right, I've had things happen so quickly that I didn't even get a photo up. I just had the sticky note, and it was just a sticky note in the writing in the format that I'm going to give you guys. And that was it. And I already got the goal before I was even able to print the picture off, right? You want this to flow very quickly. You got to tell your subconscious mind, and I'll give you some tips and tricks to do that. You want to tell your subconscious mind that this is already made a course correction in the universe and heading your way right now. How close it is, we'll find out. But you want it on its way to you. Okay? So I'm here now. Yes. All right, cool. So there it is. I just did that one in Amazon. I think it's what, $10 or something like that. $13, almost 14 after taxes and shipping, maybe 15 bucks. Yeah, that's what I use. And if you need that again, I searched photo collage frame, and I just scrolled down until I found the one that has the strings. Okay. All right. So if you didn't get a screenshot of this, here, let me give it to you all in one. Screenshot that in the next 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now you have that. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the actual goals. The the actual things that you want, the actual things that you stick onto your vision board. Yeah. Now, just like the goals, or just like the brakes on a car, all of these are suggestions so that when you're creating your dreams and creating your goals, you open up the opportunity for things to come to you faster. In the same way that brakes allow a car. This is like having great brakes. Allow those things to course correct in the universe and come at you like a Ferrari. Okay. So, all right, let's talk about these and let's go through these one by one. First of all, each one of your goals is either going to cost money or it's going to cost time. I haven't been able to think of anything else that things are able that you'll spend in order to get your goals. If somebody comes up with one, then share with me. But I can always trace it back to, oh, that was money or that was time. Okay, so that's okay. Sometimes a goal is an experience that doesn't cost any money. Sometimes a goal does cost money, and sometimes it's both. Sometimes an experience takes money to get the experience. Okay. And so we'll go through that as we break down. But it depends. Whatever the goal needs, whether you need to spend money or you need to spend time or both, make sure that you include that in the goal. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Okay. The next thing is quantify, quantify, quantify. You have to know when you did or didn't get a goal. If you don't know when you achieved a goal, for example, you set a goal and you say, I want to be more spiritual. Well, how do you know? How do you know when to take that off your vision board? You don't, because more spiritual becomes subjective instead of objective, right? Your goals need to be objective, and more spiritual. You could, again, agency. You can choose to believe whatever you want. You could put something on your vision board and then tomorrow wake up and say, let's say I'm more spiritual. I'm feeling more spiritual today. Take it. How do you know? So you have to be able to measure or quantify that goal. For example, let's say, let's use that spiritual one. I want to, instead of saying I want to be more spiritual, then it causes you or forces you to say, okay, how am I going to define more spiritual? What am I doing today to be spiritual? And what do I want to start doing? Again, it's going to cost more time to do this, but what do I want to start doing to be more spiritual? For example, I've had on my spiritual vision board before that I wanted to pray 2 times a day. Now, again, how do you know when to get that off your vision board? Did I pray 2 times a day today? I did. Can I take it off? I don't know, right? Make sure that you know when to take that item off your vision board. So I said I wanted to pray 2 times a day for 30 days. How do I know if I can take that off? Did I pray 2 times a day for 30 days? Yes or no? Okay. Anyway, hope that makes sense. And I can inherently say that will help me be more spiritual, because I'm going to do more things. I'm going to spend more time. Again, spending time or spending money. Spend time doing things that are leading to more spirituality. Okay. Anyway, there's an example for you. That's usually a tough one for people to set goals in. Quantify, quantify, quantify. Okay. Next thing is, and this is a fun one. Is your goal, I feel like there's 2 types of goals. There's going to be goals that you share, and there's going to be goals that really you should only stare at, right? So is your goal a share or a stare goal at the end of the day? Okay. And what do I mean by that? So if I set a goal, and let's use let's use the hobby or the passion. In fact, I'm going to use, I believe Jared Brenchley is on right now. And I know that he has had on his vision board that he wants that new Tesla S Plaid. I think it's like 0 to 60 in like -3 seconds. Like all you have to do is think about it and you're going 60 miles an hour. Very, very fast car, seems like. I know it's something like that. Wait, I don't even know if 0 to 60 in -seconds is possible, but probably one of the fastest vehicles on the planet that you can drive on the street. So how does it make you feel when I start saying, hey, I've got on my vision board to buy a Tesla S Plaid, or I've got on my vision board to buy a ginormous RV that cost me more than my first house. I've got a goal that I want to buy a yacht, right? How does it make you feel? And most people on this call are obviously going to be trained that when you can celebrate others, it actually creates a gravitational pull for you. But most of the human race, they're going to be like, cool, congrats. How does that help me or anybody else other than you, right? And so those are the types of goals that really you should only stare at, and maybe only share with those that you know are going to be like, awesome, man, I don't hate celebrating. Yes, and that's why I say most people on this call are going to understand that, but most of the human race not. And so be careful with that, right? I'll give you some techniques to turn that into a shared goal, but notice that there's 2 types of goals. In fact, write this one down. I'm not going to write it down just for sake of time, but when trying, or in the process of achieving a goal, here's the quote: your goal will be directly related to how many people know what your goal is. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. The achievement of your goal will be directly related to how many people know what your goal is. And so, again, back to share and stare. Who needs to know about your Tesla S Plaid goal? And Jared, I'm just using this as an example because it's fresh in my mind. But whatever it is, right? Let's say it's your passion, your guilt-free, this is what I want goal. Who needs to know about that? A select group of people, not the whole world. But let's say, a share goal. Let me use an example of, I'm going to zoom in on this. I'm going to use an example of the bottom left, education and career. I have a personal goal in my real estate investing business that I want to, now listen to this goal. I designed this goal. I think it took me a year to design this goal, right? And some of you are probably thinking, wait a second, this took you a year to design your goal? Yes, that's how much I care about stuff like this. I care about this so much that words mean things, right? You've heard Michael say this all the time. I care about my vision board so much because I understand how it works that I will spend time and money to make this better, faster, have my goal take a course correction in the universe with huge Brembo brakes. I don't know that much about cars, but I know Brembo is a brand that people flaunt. Huge Brembo brakes that it can come at me at 250 miles an hour like a Ferrari, right? So listen to this goal. And this is in my real estate investing business. I want to help 1,000 people into a real estate deal and make money. I'm going to say that again. This took me a year to design. I want to help 1,000 people into a real estate investment transaction and make money. Do I when I got it? Yes. Now, does this pass the share or stare test? Is that a share goal that every human on the planet Earth should know what my goal is? Or is that a stare goal that only I should be looking at, and a few people in my close circle that are going to celebrate, right? You get that? You word your goal in a way that the very sharing of your goal will actually cause people to say, can I be a part of that? And it works every time. I've literally had people, when I share that goal with them, say, can I be one of those? Right? And to date, I was looking at it last night. I think to date I have helped 703 people into a real estate deal who have made money. 703. I want to help 1,000. Right? So anyway, there's an example. Share goal or stare goal. Does it pass the test of, and I'm not saying one or the other is better or worse, but you just don't see me walking around saying like, I want to buy an RV that costs more than my first house and go drive around in it for 3 months with my family and work 2 days a week. You don't see me share that goal. In fact, I bet you this is the first time most of you have ever heard that goal. I actually have the example of the first edition of that goal in my vision board training last year, and we're actually fulfilling that currently. But anyway, I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. Is your goal a share, everybody should know this, or is this a stare that you need to be looking at this often? But at the end of the day, is a Tesla S Plaid, I don't even know how much money that costs. I'm sure it's more than 6 figures. Which other goal relates to that goal? Probably the top left in the money. So the money goal is going to pay for the Tesla goal at the end of the day. Because again, all goals are either going to cost money or time. I saw somebody in the comments say that goals might cost relationships. I'd have to really think about that one to see if I can trace that back to money or time. But spending relationships, you might have to clarify actually. Do you mean that you're going to lose relationships in order to get that goal? Or are you saying relationships are a currency and you are spending relationship capital, if you will? If your relationships are holding you back, then get rid of them. Yeah. But I don't know if I would say you could trace that back to probably time, spending more time with different people. Again, I'd have to really think about that one to see if it would qualify as saying like, hey, here's the resources that you're going to spend. But I do agree. I totally do agree that sometimes people are going to be holding you back. All right. Let's see, where did we leave off? Share versus stare. Make sure that you know what type of goal that is. Because again, that quote, the achievement of your goal will depend on how many people and who hears you. Basically, how many people know what your goal is. How many people you say your goal verbally say or text or whatever what your goal is, okay? All right, another one. Negative self-talk. Now, again, when I say the phrase negative self-talk, most people on this planet know what I mean by that. But if we take this way, way deeper to agency and again, gift that every human has been given, the gift and power of agency to literally choose anything you want, takes this a little deeper than just saying negative, oh, get rid of negative self-talk. Of course, everybody knows that. But if you apply what we learned about agency and what that, again, one of the greatest gifts ever given to you, if you use it wrong, it will serve you in the wrong way. And so, yes, I'm going to tell you, be cautious of your negative self-talk. And I'm going to tell you right now that because every single goal out there, every single goal known to man is usually something that you've never done before. A goal is usually something that you've never owned before. So you've never experienced it. You've never owned it. You never had it, right? You've never paid for it. That's what goals are for. Goals are for new experiences, new things, right? Expansion. And so naturally, because of the way our brains are wired, our brains are going to default to be careful, basically protect you from hurt, and say, if you don't get it, it's okay. Also, if maybe don't go for that, because if you fail, then you're going to have a lot of pain inside. Yeah, right, all those things. But again, back to that step deeper. If you really believe that you have been endowed from your creator to literally choose anything you want, using these principles, of course, you would change the way that you think day in and day out. You would change the way that you talk to yourself when no one else is listening, because nobody can hear what you say inside. Nobody can hear. And literally, most people literally think, I shouldn't say most people, everyone. You have nothing else to think about but thoughts inside your head. We do it all day, it never turns off. When we go to sleep, we dream. Our thoughts literally never turn off. And so if you just start using it better, guess what else becomes better? And so yes, I'm going to give you that advice. Watch out for that negative self-talk. But in reality, you are literally thinking 24/7. And so design those thoughts. Think on purpose. Think towards what you want. And because it will, when something comes up that's like, instead of getting a Tesla S Plaid, I know I could go get a Tesla Model 3. I can't remember what the base one is. The $30,000 Tesla, whatever it is, right? Instead of spending $100 and something thousand, I could go spend 30. It's your agency. You are choosing. You are using the power endowed from your creator to choose that instead of the big thing that you want, right? When you're settling, or sometimes you'll even, again, and I would consider that negative self-talk. Yes, the negative self-talk of like, you can't, I could never do that. Yeah, that stuff exists. And sometimes that stuff is even easy to catch yourself, but it's going to take constant, I can't even say that enough. It is going to take constant, moment to moment monitoring of your thoughts to catch those things that are so subtle that are negative self-talk towards your goal. And I'm trying to think of a few examples of this. Like, of course, the one being like, hey, I want the Tesla S Plaid, but oh, you know what? I'll get the Tesla Model 3. Or again, so subtle, that negative self-talk. Because remember, war in heaven, there was the creator, Heavenly Father, and then there was the contender. And the contender is okay if you only use agency in a way that you don't need brakes, or you only use agency in a way that you need, what were I can't remember what they called those types of brakes, but anybody ever seen a horse and buggy? And the brakes that they use, it's kind of like a wheel. Most people would probably know what a wheelchair brake looks like. It's kind of like a wheelchair brake, where it's like a lever that you pull, and it just like puts one little piece of metal onto the wheel, and that's what slows you down. Again, depending on how you're using your agency, you are driving a horse and buggy. Because those are the only types of brakes that you're going to need. That's how quickly you're going towards goals. Or you're going to need those big, fat, red and yellow Brembo brakes, because you are going 250 miles an hour. But here's the thing, with the way our brains work is faster handbrakes. Thank you. Faster is more dangerous, and that they're not wrong. Our brains are designed to keep us safe. Okay, so when you really understand agency and that power that's been endowed, you'll notice that the way you think becomes different. Brembo ceramic brakes. Thank you. I knew I was going to get a car guy. Help me out here. Okay. Thank you. Now, when you have the ones that are flat out negative and they're like, I can't, or I shouldn't, or oh, you know what? Let's talk about this. Did you know that the subconscious mind, when you pose a question, it actually will not rest until it finds an answer? And so let's say you pose a question to your subconscious mind of oh, why can't I do this? In fact, let me give you an example that actually just showed up in my life within a month or two ago. I had a friend, and this person grew up with my wife, and she just got married, and they just had their first kid, or they had their first kid, and they just had their second. And she was looking at us, and she's like, "How in the world do you guys travel so much with 3 children? Like, how do you do that? Like, I cannot fathom as to how you guys are able to do that. I'm barely able to handle my 2 children. And we haven't been on a trip in years." And then and I started listening to her language. And she started saying things like, "Oh, this is why we can't travel, because my son doesn't sleep in anything else but his pack and play," right? He got a brand new baby. Doesn't sleep very well in anything except for his pack and play. And again, I'm listening to patterns here. And so I literally was able to pick out that she has posed to the universe, to her subconscious mind, a question: why can't I travel with my 2 young children? And her subconscious mind is working non-stop as to why she cannot travel with 2 young children. Oh, because again, everything in your life shows up. Oh, kid's crying. Well, oh, kid's crying because he's not sleeping in his pack and play. That is why we can't travel. Because he's crying in his pack and play, he doesn't sleep very well in anything but his pack and play. Oh, my son I'm trying to think of some of the things that she was saying, and I'm just like, man, when did you decide that? Because all agent, again, life is agency. And so one day, someday, she chose, and the reason she chose that was because she was looking for it, looking for any reason as to why things pop up, or as to things popping up and say, oh, this is why I cannot do this. But when you flip that, right, and we'll get into this in just a moment, this exercise. But when you flip that as to why can I or how can I, you put that subconscious mind to when things show up in your life, you're like, this is why. This is why we need to do this. This is why we should do this. This is why I need to go towards this goal or whatever, right? I'm trying to think of some crazy examples that happened where my wife and I were like, this is why. Right? When crap happens, here's I might get judged for telling this story, but this is a funny one. So my wife and I buy this crazy RV that literally costs more than our first house, and I get this Jeep to go behind it and put monster truck tires on it, and to tow behind the RV. And again, I'm thinking, all right, this is why we're able to do this, because we can set this up and we can do it, right? And so we're posing that kind of talk into our thoughts. We're posing those questions into our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind, because again, you have nothing else to think about but thoughts. So you do it literally every day, all day. And so we're posing these questions for our subconscious mind to work towards and find reasons as to why. And literally, we're out in Moab. This is a couple months ago. We're out in Moab, and doing some test runs and making sure that we can we don't need to buy this before we do our big trip. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to teach my wife how to connect the Jeep to the RV, so that way she knows how to do it, I know how to do it, and that will be why. That'll be why we can do this so efficiently, is because we can connect and disconnect, and she can drive the Jeep or connect, and if we get into a pickle on the road where she's got to jump out really fast and disconnect the Jeep while I'm in the RV and people are honking, right? Because again, I'm thinking through some of these scenarios. This is why we can do this, because we can have an answer to a problem like this that we might run into. And so I'm teaching my wife how to connect the Jeep to the RV. And I think this is her first time. And so the way you got to do it is you got to pull it up, you got to have this many inches away so that you can connect the stuff to the Jeep, and you got to put the Jeep in neutral, both the transmission as well as the transfer case. Some of you guys probably already know where I'm going with this, right? You have to put the transmission in neutral and the transfer case, basically the four-wheel drive, in neutral. And so we're going through the steps. Put it in neutral, put the transfer case in neutral. She shifts it. It says neutral on the dash for both. And then you put the transmission back into park. And so once the transfer case is in neutral, you put the transmission in park, you turn everything off, and on your way. You take off and you're pulling your Jeep behind you. We all jump out, lock the Jeep, we get in the RV, and this thing has like, I don't know, almost 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, a huge diesel engine. And so we start pulling off, and I don't notice anything. We're driving, we get about a mile down the road, and I hear this unreal sound coming from behind us. And I'm like, what is that noise? I have never heard that before. We had pulled, this thing is so powerful, I didn't even notice that we had pulled the Jeep. She accidentally didn't quite get that transfer case into neutral. It said neutral on the dash, but anybody that has ever shifted something, a manual transfer case knows that, like, you kind of got to wiggle a little bit to make sure that it goes into where you want, 4-wheel drive high, 4-wheel drive low, or neutral. And then she put it in park. So it was in 4-wheel drive low in park. All 4 wheels are locked up, will not move in park. Oh boy. And so I hear this noise, screeching tires, and I look behind me, and there's just like smoke. And I'm like, oh no, this is bad, right? And we're miles away from home, hours away from home, and so we get out, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, crap. Literally, we had rubbed only one patch on these tires, right? These are huge 39-inch monster truck tires. We had rubbed one patch on the tires, literally almost down to the what do they call that? Basically they were bald in one spot. And so when you actually would drive that Jeep, every once in a while, these are huge tires. The wear bar, thank you. Actually, we went farther than the wear bar. They were like bald. And so when you drive this Jeep, it's like boom, thump, 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 because huge bald spot only on one piece of that tire. And so again, when you are posing questions to your subconscious mind, one way or the other, that would have been very easy to say, oh, this is why we shouldn't maybe do a huge 3-month, 5, 6, 7,000 mile road trip across the country. Because if that happened during, that could be pretty bad. I mean, right now with how, all the ports and everything, these tires that I got, literally you can't find them. They like, there's like a tire shortage, especially for that specific model of the ones that I wanted, the massive tires. And so, I mean, not only was it, I literally had to call. Anyway, we won't go into that. We got them fixed. Because again, if you had enough money to solve a problem, it's not a problem. It's like you just show up to that problem with the attitude that you had anyway, right? So yeah, sure, had the money to just fix it. But again, posing to my mind, okay, this is why we can go on a big trip, because we are going to learn so well how to prepare for problems like this going down the road, where we have systems and processes. And so now, my wife still can hook up the Jeep, but we just have, before you put it back into park, you put it into reverse, make sure that it's not engaged, because if it says neutral on the dash, doesn't mean it's in neutral. Anyway, so what I'm getting at is, you could choose to believe that this is why you can't, or this is why you can. We chose to believe, even though that's like, crazy, ruined a brand new set. Literally these tires had less than 1,000 miles on them, brand spanking new, and had to replace them. I had to call dealer after dealer after dealer after dealer to find them and get them here before we left on our trip. Anyway, but we chose to believe, okay, this is why we can go, because we will never have to solve that problem ever again. Yeah. Yeah. If the only thing a problem costs is money, that's not a problem, in my opinion. Okay. So anyway, all right, moving on. Really quickly, if you do have that straight up negative self-talk, again, in your handwriting, write it on a sticky note, a piece of paper, whatever it is, and I'm going to give you the ritual. When you go through all those neurological connections in the brain to use your personal handwriting, don't type it up. If you don't have a pen and paper, then the next best thing, again, is type it up on your phone or whatever, but write it out on paper and destroy it. Take it in the backyard, bring a lighter, light it on fire, watch it burn. I don't care. Physically destroy any negative self-talk that comes up in your mind, right? If you have the bad stuff, then yeah, you're gonna have to go through that. But if you have those, if you're just working on that constant, yeah, I didn't write down on a piece of paper that we can't go on a trip because I can't teach my wife, or I can't, I can't put systems in place to make sure that we don't drag all 4 tires of the Jeep behind, right? I didn't write that one down. If you got that really, really negative stuff, physically go through that ritual of destroying it. Write it down, rip it up into teeny pieces of paper, light it on fire. I don't care. Step on it, jump on it, right? Sell it to yourself. All right. Let's talk about gratitude, right? Spin off of gravity and gratitude. Gravity and gratitude. When you set a goal, I've noticed that gratitude is one of the largest gravitational pulls for anything you want: success, spirituality, fitness, love, all the categories. Gratitude will gravitate things to you faster than anything else I've come to understand. So when you set a goal, all right, we're gonna move on into this. When you set a goal, make sure that you say, again, future tense, you are already acting as if you achieved your goal. Like Michael said, I won that big trip to Dubai and London. I was already there. I was already grateful to achieve success and win those trips. And I would say to myself, I am so grateful that I did everything I needed to and earned that trip. Well before I ever won the trip, I was already grateful that it had course corrected in the universe and come my way. Okay, so when you use that type of language, all kinds of things change. Demeanor changes, your attitude changes, your desire, your motivation, right? Gratitude. Because when you're grateful, people want to be around you a lot more. But anyway, so I am grateful that this happened. Now, and then we're going to get into the do-do, right? We have to talk about the do-do. Now, most people, when they're doing goals and trainings and stuff like that, they're going to teach you, set a date, right? I think there's a SMART goal out there, smart goals, I can't remember, but they say set a date of when you want to achieve that. I'm going to challenge that, okay? Because if you create a due date of this is when I want, you could do a couple things. One, let's say you don't get it quite on your due date. That could create an opportunity to challenge your beliefs that you can have that. Oftentimes I see it all the time where people are like, oh man, I didn't quite get it on my due date, so maybe I wasn't supposed to have it, right? Be careful with the due date, the DUE date. I'm actually a proponent of don't even list a due date. Why? Because I'm like, dude, universe, surprise me how quickly this can come into my possession in achieving this goal. Surprise me. You never know. Right? I've got a saying, most of your goals are only one or a few, but most of your goals are usually 1 or 2 relationships away from achieving that goal. 1 or 2 people away from achieving that goal, okay? And so focus a little bit more on the due date. When are you going to do your goal? When are you going to do the things that reach up to your goal? Michael White talked about becoming 5-star, basically the comp plan, right? How you can make money using Renatus, using the Renatus system, using Renatus education that you are using yourself, right? So Bob Snyder's a genius, by the way, right? So when you're setting your goals, make sure that your goal includes the due date, the DO, not the due date of this is when I want it by, the due date of this is when I'm going to do it, okay? And in your goal, I found that the most effective way is, I call it the least time recurring denominator. Yeah, and here's what I mean by that. All right, let's give a couple examples. So we're going to start with we're going to do the money one. Okay? Money goals. This is actually one that I currently have. And I got to go back. We had a couple of big months. I might have actually already achieved this, but I don't look at money as often as I used to. How much is coming in? May have already achieved this, but here, this is what is currently on my vision board nonetheless. May have achieved this in November, but anyway. So I've got, oh, and somebody was asking about, do you want pictures? Do you want writing? So this represents a picture, just like, what do they call them, 5x7 or whatever, that you literally get from ordering on, you know, from Costco or Walmart or, you know, whatever. Or if you want literally free, there's an app called Free Prints. Free Prints app. Just to sign up for that app, you just give them your email. They'll literally give you 10 free prints. It's like one more than 9, so you got your vision board set up right there, right then and there. Okay, but this is like a picture that I've printed off. Again, I'm trying to think quickly on, quickly off. How can I very, very quickly get something on there so that I'm telling my subconscious mind I can get it off really fast, okay? And so I've got a picture on my vision board that I just Googled $200,000 in a month. And I, you know, look for pictures. If you can't find something, then make it in what's that app, like Pages or Microsoft Word or whatever, okay? But this is just a 5x7 picture that you would just print from just about anywhere, right? Again, very easy, very accessible. You can do this. You could even print it on your computer if you wanted to, whatever. If you find it in a magazine, great. You can still do that, but find that thing that will bring to your remembrance what your goal very, very quickly just by looking at it, okay, visually. Okay, so free prints. So on it, there's that thing. It says $200,000 in a month. I've got a goal that I want to break that that income of $200,000, and this one's not revenue. I want this one to be personal. Like after all my partners are paid, after all, like this, I want this deposited into my bank account. If I didn't achieve that last year, I know we got close a couple of times, but I got to look back. But that's one of my goals is I want to make $200,000 in a month deposited into my personal bank account. Okay, so I've got a picture of it, easy to print off, and here's where the sticky note comes in. On my sticky note, I say I am so grateful to make $200,000 in a month. Do I know when I got it? Yes. Is this a shared goal? Is the picture of the words, or what is? So in this particular one, it's like a picture of like dollar bills and all kinds of stuff. In fact, I might even have this. Let's see. Where is? These are shared albums. Where's my other albums? Vision board. There it is, right there. So there's my picture that's up on the wall. I just printed that off on freeprints.com. It says $200,000 a month, has a bunch of dollar bills. Yeah, that was the best one I could find on Google. Here's a couple other things. I had a goal to get LASIK surgery. I got that a year ago. That was a cool one. Goal to do this was a really fun goal, but mountain biking stuff. I want to copy Michael. I want to buy a forest. So we're currently forest shopping. That was actually part of the goal of driving across the country. Yeah, anyway, so you guys see what I'm saying. So it's a picture, right? That particular one has the words on it, sure, but Yes, anyway, you guys got it. And I've got my sticky note attached to it in my personal handwriting. I am so grateful to make $200,000 in a month. Okay, now notice here on the bottom, I've got a little line across that bottom, and I've separated it into two categories. Okay, and so on the left, here's where you are going to insert your due. D-O, not the due, D-U-E, the due, D-O date. Or if it only costs money, then you're just going to put money. Okay. Basically, this is what you're going to enter of what you're going to spend. So if you're spending time, then you're gonna put how much time that costs to achieve that goal. I've got a time goal next as my example, but you're going to put what you're going to spend, right? And so in this case, like, yeah, I could argue that I'm going to spend marketing dollars but I personally, in my business, I cannot attribute to 100 marketing dollars or whatever, 1,000 marketing dollars equals this much in revenue. I run my whole business off of referrals. And so I can't say, but if I knew if I would spend $10,000 in marketing budget that I would make this much money, then yeah, I would put money on here. This is how much this goal is going to cost. But this particular goal is just a matter of time for me. And so when I set this up, I'm going to spend 5 hours per, again, least, let's see, what do I call that? The least time recurring denominator. Okay. And so 5 hours per Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Right? You see what I did there? Use the least time recurring denominator. Because some people might say, oh, I'm going to spend, I don't know how many, what's that a month? Oh, that's like 20 hours. I'm going to spend 20 hours a month. Yeah, but you could divide that into a lesser time recurring denominator of, okay, I'm going to spend 5 hours on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sure, that's about 20 hours a week, or sorry, 20 hours a month. But, or sorry, this is 5 hours on Monday, 5 hours on Tuesday. So this is 15 hours a week. That's 60 hours a month. Right? But you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. The least time recurring. My brain is remembering math class. The least common denominator, the least time recurring denominator. Okay. So I'm going to spend 5 hours on Monday. I'm going to spend 5 hours on Tuesday. I'm going to 5 hours on Wednesday to achieve that goal. That's what I'm going to spend, because goals usually cost time or money. And now that, again, I've placed that question into the question that came up about spending relationships. I've placed that question into my subconscious mind to try and find answers. And so I'm looking for reasons as to why to or why not to say spend relationships. If you could argue that to achieve a goal, you have to spend a relationship, and if you could narrow that down to this is how much this goal is going to cost, I would put that there. If you say, hey, the only way I'm going to get this goal is if I spend this relationship, meaning I dispense this relationship, I think that would be appropriate to say, yeah, the only way I'm going to get that goal is if this relationship is not in my life. Okay, so if it takes that, then yeah, I would put that. Okay, but I don't feel like I have any of those myself, so maybe that's not why it's come up. If it comes up for you, there's a reason for that. I can say that right now. Okay, but what are you going to spend? You're going to put that on the bottom left. What will you spend? Time, money. Make sure that you put the least common, the least time recurring denominator on there. If it's recurring. Okay, everybody got me? Who has questions? I'm going to go into another example here in just a moment.
Daine,
Yo.
can you please expand on the least recurring denominator? The least time recurring denominator.
Yes. Meaning, in this case, I know I'm going to spend time. And so I ask myself, okay, how much time am I, the minimum unit of time. How much time am I going to spend in a recurring fashion, if it needs to be recurring, in order to achieve this goal? Because I wouldn't be able to sit down and say, okay, I can spend this many hours and I can spend, and I'm going to make this amount of money. You know, you could probably say, oh, what's my, you know, if you really had scientifically your closing, you know, let's say you're a salesperson, your closing ratio, how many leads it takes, then yeah, you could probably get down and say, okay, this is going to cost me 200 hours, whatever. You could say, I'm gonna spend 200 hours to get this. And then, but then even then I would still say, narrow down 200 hours to when are you going to spend those 200 hours? In my case,